The unexpected war. The sky above Earth's orbit was silent, but not for long. No one knew exactly when the alien ships arrived. One moment, space was calm. The next, giant black shapes floated just beyond the moon, hidden by their stealth fields. They didn't speak. They didn't make demands. They only watched. Earth's governments panicked. Military bases went on high alert. News channels filled with fear. Who were these beings? What did they want? The answer came 3 days later, when one of the alien ships dropped from orbit and landed in the middle of the Nevada desert. The ground shook, dust flew everywhere, and from the ship's metal doors walked a creature unlike any human had seen before. She was tall, thin, and pale blue. Her long silver hair flowed behind her like a mist. Her eyes glowed a soft violet, and she wore armor made of glass-like metal. Her name was Tilani, a scout from the Varelian Empire, but most people just called her the Alien Girl. Tilani wasn't here to fight. She was here to observe, or so she said. The humans didn't trust her, but they also didn't want war, so they agreed. One human would serve as her guide, someone who would show her around Earth, explain human behavior, and answer her questions. That human was Ethan Cross, a former soldier who now lived a quiet life fixing satellites and space drones. He had no interest in aliens or diplomacy, but when the military offered him triple pay, he accepted. What no one expected, what he didn't expect, was how curious Tilani really was. She asked about everything. Why humans wore clothes, why they used forks instead of their hands, why they had pets or sang songs or danced around fires during celebrations. And Ethan, with his easy smile and dry humor, answered everything patiently. But then, she asked about reproduction. That was the moment everything changed. It started as a simple question during a quiet night at a field base. The stars were clear, and the two of them sat near a fire, talking about human emotions and relationships. Humans form pair bonds, she said. Romantic, yes. Yeah, Ethan replied. Most of us do. And then, you create offspring, she asked, tilting her head. Ethan chuckled. Yeah, that's kinda how the species continues. But how? Is it mechanical? Do you exchange fluids externally? He blinked. No, it's more personal than that. Show me the process, she said innocently. Ethan nearly choked on his drink. Wait, what? No, we don't just show that. Tilani looked confused. Why not? It's biological. I have seen Varelian birth chambers. We use DNA splicing, then grow children in nutrient tubes. It's public knowledge. He rubbed his face. Yeah, well, it's not like that for us. It's more private, more emotional, more physical. Physical, she repeated slowly. That night ended awkwardly, but something had changed. Tilani seemed disturbed and curious. The next day, she began asking deeper questions. Too deep. How did humans mate? What was the process? Why did it involve emotion and touch? Why were there songs and kisses? Why the secrecy? And why on Earth, was pain or moaning involved in something meant for reproduction? Ethan didn't want to answer. But now, her mission had shifted. Tilani began observing human couples. From afar at first, then closer, she watched them hold hands, laugh, kiss, and sometimes disappear into private rooms. And with every passing day, she grew more silent, more disturbed, more confused. She couldn't understand how something so strange, so intense, so messy could be part of a functioning species. But the Varelian High Command was watching too. They sent new orders. Continue the study. Bring back all data on human reproduction. Tilani didn't know what they planned, but something inside her whispered, this isn't just observation anymore. And back on Earth, Ethan was starting to notice her change. Her questions weren't innocent anymore. Her eyes carried shadows. And one night, she whispered to him, "If this is what love looks like, your species is more dangerous than we thought." Her first real witnessing. Tilani stood by the large window of the research facility, her arms crossed, her eyes fixed on the human couple in the garden below. The woman laughed softly. The man brushed her hair behind her ear. Then, without warning, they kissed. Tilani blinked. Her heart, or whatever the Varelians called it, beat faster, not from excitement, from discomfort. Ethan had tried to explain before. "It's normal," he said. "It's affection, romance, intimacy." But to Tilani, it didn't look like science. It didn't look efficient or controlled. It looked wild. Later that night, she secretly accessed Earth's digital archives. Ethan had left his tablet unlocked again. One swipe, and she was swimming in data. She found video files, billions of them. Some educational, some not. She watched one. Her hand flew to her mouth. She watched a second one. Then she turned off the screen and sat frozen in the dark. "This is madness," she whispered. In Virelian culture, reproduction was sterile, controlled. Embryos grew in fluid chambers. No mess, no emotion. Pairing was based on logic and genetics, not feelings or attraction. Love to her people was an outdated concept. And yet, humans were not only surviving but thriving, with all this chaos. The next day, Ethan found her sitting alone on the roof. Her expression was unreadable. "You okay?" he asked, sitting beside her. She didn't answer right away. Then she said quietly, "I saw it. What humans do." Ethan sighed. "Yeah, I figured you would. I didn't expect that. Most don't." She looked at him with tired eyes. "Your people are strange. You tie your emotions into your biology. You risk disease, injury, heartbreak, just to feel close to someone. Why?" He looked up at the stars. "Because it means something. That connection. That fire between two people. We're messy, yeah, but love is one of the few things worth the mess." Tilani didn't respond, but her silence said everything. That night, a storm rolled across the desert. Lightning flashed behind the mountains. The power went out for a few minutes, and in that quiet darkness, Tilani began to dream. A Virelian trait she never thought she had. She dreamed of touch, of warm skin, of feelings that were not assigned or calculated. She woke up shaking. The next morning, her behavior changed. She asked more questions, specific ones. What does a kiss feel like? Why do people want to be held? Why does heartbreak hurt in the chest? Ethan was patient, but something in his gut told him this was leading somewhere bigger. Later that week, they visited a rural human village. Tilani met a young couple with a baby. She stared at the child. So fragile, so soft. It reached out with a tiny hand and grabbed her finger. And for the first time since arriving on Earth, she smiled. "This is the result of that act?" she asked Ethan, voice quiet. He nodded. "Yeah, it's more than biology. It's life." But her joy faded quickly. Back at the facility, a secret message arrived from the Virelian command. "Observation complete. Prepare to return. Deliver full mating data. Do not let the humans know what's coming." Tilani stared at the screen, her chest heavy. Her fingers trembled. They weren't just studying humans. They were preparing for something else. Something far worse. And now she was caught in the middle. She looked at Ethan, laughing with a local kid, sharing a joke. And she knew. He trusted her, but he had no idea what her people were planning. Orders she couldn't follow. Tilani sat alone in the quiet metal room, the Virelian message still glowing on her small datapad. It repeated once every hour. "Collect full biological data. Secure genetic material. Return immediately. Earth is to be marked. Level 3 harvest. Do not form attachments." Her hand hovered over the acknowledge button, but she didn't press it. She had seen too much, heard too much, felt too much. When she first arrived, she thought humans were chaotic, strange, emotional creatures. Now she saw something else, something her empire refused to see. They were alive, not efficient, not logical, but warm, messy, full of connection. And that connection, it changed things. She looked out the window. Ethan was fixing the solar panel again, humming softly. Dust blew in small clouds around him. He waved when he noticed her watching. She didn't wave back. She was afraid. He had no idea his DNA had been marked. That his emotions, his body, even his kindness, all were targets now. The Virelian scientists didn't want to study humans anymore. They wanted to use them. The first harvest would begin soon. Maybe not war, but something worse. Quiet, controlled, behind closed doors. Start with subjects who understand love, the message said. And Ethan was their perfect starting point. She closed the pad and locked it deep in her travel bag. That evening, she sat across from him by the fire again. The stars were clear. A breeze carried desert warmth. "You ever think the universe is watching us?" she asked softly. Ethan chuckled. "If it is, it must be pretty bored. Maybe it's afraid of you." He looked over at her. "Afraid? Of us?" "You don't follow rules," she said. "You break them. You love without reason. You fight for strangers. You build from nothing. You don't wait for orders. You create your own." Ethan poked the fire with a stick. "Sometimes that gets us into trouble. Sometimes it saves everything." He smiled. "You okay, Tilani? You seem off lately." She hesitated. Her voice was tight. "If I asked you something strange, something important, would you answer?" "Depends what you ask." She leaned forward, her eyes locking with his. "What would you do if you found out your guest, your friend, was hiding something big, something dangerous?" He paused. The fire cracked. He could hear her breathing. "I'd want the truth," he said, "even if it hurt." She looked down. "That's what I was afraid of." Before he could ask more, a loud humming sound echoed across the night sky. Tilani froze. So did Ethan. A Virelian scout ship, unmanned, descended quietly in the dark, landing behind the research base. Its lights flickered. It was here for her, and possibly for him. Ethan stood. "That one of yours?" Tilani nodded slowly. "They're early." Ethan took a step back. "What's going on, Tilani?" She didn't answer. She just whispered, "I'm so sorry." Then she turned and ran toward the ship. But she didn't go inside. She opened a hidden panel, pulled out a data core, and smashed it on the rocks. Sparks flew. Alarms triggered. She was disobeying orders. Ethan grabbed her arm, confused. "What are you doing?" "They're not just observing you," she said quickly. "They're collecting you. They want your DNA, your way of life, your emotions. They don't understand it, so they want to control it." He blinked. "Are you saying this was never about peace?" "No, it was about harvesting what makes you human." "Why?" "Because what you have scares them." The ship lights flared red. It was now calling reinforcements. She had been marked a traitor. And Ethan. He had just become her reason to betray her own kind. The choice that changed everything. Alarms screamed from the Virelian scout ship, echoing through the desert night. Red lights flashed across the sand as the ship's defense systems activated. Sensors scanned for Tilani's DNA signature. She had destroyed the mission's core data. And that meant one thing. She was now marked as a traitor. Tilani pulled Ethan by the arm. "We have to leave. Now." Ethan didn't move. "Wait, Tilani, slow down. You're saying your people were lying. This was never about peace." She looked up at him, her voice shaking. "It was a test, a quiet invasion. They wanted to learn everything about you, how you live, how you feel, how you love. And once they had it all, they were going to take it. Ethan's jaw tightened. That's why you asked so many questions. She nodded. They needed full reproductive mapping. Emotional behavior, physical responses. You were selected because you're open, honest, and human. He stared at her, and you were the trap. Tilani's face twisted in shame. I was, but I didn't expect to change. I didn't expect to feel anything. More lights appeared in the sky, small, fast-moving gliders. Virelian drones. They were coming for her. And Ethan. Come on, she whispered. We don't have time. They ran. Behind them, the scout ship released 2 silver drones, silent, swift, and deadly. Their job wasn't to ask questions. Their job was to clean up. Ethan led her to a hidden crevice in the rocks. It wasn't much, but it gave them cover. His old military instincts kicked in. He checked his wristband. No signal. The comms were already jammed. Tilani looked at him. Why are you helping me? He raised an eyebrow. Why are you protecting me? Neither of them answered. The silence said enough. Suddenly, one of the drones buzzed past the rocks, scanning. Tilani held her breath. She pressed her back against the stone, her fingers clutching Ethan's shirt. He could feel her trembling. For the first time, she looked fragile. The drone passed. They exhaled. Ethan turned to her. All right. If we're going to survive this, we need to disappear. I know a place. Old military bunker, shielded. But it's a long walk. She nodded. I can keep up. They moved fast, avoiding lights, dodging patrols. Along the way, Tilani asked, do all humans run like this when they're scared? Ethan smiled, despite the danger. Only the smart ones. It was strange, how close they felt now. A few days ago, she was just a visitor. Now she was risking her life to protect him. And he was doing the same. By sunrise, they reached the edge of a rocky canyon. Below, hidden between cliffs, was a metal hatch half covered in sand. Ethan brushed it off and opened it. Inside was darkness and dust. Welcome to my old hideout, he said. Tilani stepped in and looked around. It was cold, silent, and empty, but safe. For now. She sat down slowly, her body exhausted. They won't stop. I've never seen Virelian command act this fast. They must really want you. Ethan grabbed a water canister and handed it to her. Maybe they're scared. Not just of what we are, but what we could become. She drank, then asked, why do you fight so hard for emotions? For this chaotic way of living. He leaned against the wall. Because it makes life real. Pain, love, fear, hope. They remind us we're alive. That we're more than just machines. She stared at him. Then maybe that's what makes humans dangerous. Ethan looked at her, curious. Dangerous how? She looked away. Because you make others feel things they're not supposed to. The silence between them was heavy. And then softly she added, I wasn't supposed to care about you, Ethan. He didn't move, but he understood. Tilani, the alien scout who once found human mating horrifying, was now caught in something far more confusing. Attachment. What she felt was forbidden. The bunker was quiet, but not peaceful. Outside, the desert heat built up. Inside, silence wrapped around them like a heavy blanket. Dust floated through beams of sunlight, slipping in through small cracks. Ethan worked quietly, fixing the broken comms unit. His hands moved with purpose, but his thoughts were somewhere else. Back on the moment she said it. I wasn't supposed to care about you, Ethan. Those words wouldn't leave him. Tilani sat across from him, her arms wrapped around her knees. Her silver-blue skin seemed duller now, like the light inside her had dimmed. She was staring at the floor, her face still, her mind clearly far away. Ethan finally broke the silence. You don't have to explain. You were just doing your job. She looked up slowly. No, I do have to explain. He met her eyes. She held the gaze. I was trained to study, to stay distant. Emotion makes mistakes. That's what they taught us. But then, you happened. He waited. You weren't just a subject. You were you. You talked to me like I mattered. You didn't treat me like a tool or a project. You were honest. Stupidly honest. Ethan smirked. Thanks, I think. She almost smiled. Then her face turned serious again. And now, I can't undo what I feel. And that terrifies me more than the drones. Ethan put down the comm unit. You think feelings make you weak? Yes, she said softly. But now I'm not so sure. He stood up and walked to her. You're scared because you care. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you human. She stared at him. But I'm not human. No, he said, kneeling down beside her. But maybe you're becoming something better than what you were told to be. She blinked quickly. Was that moisture in her eyes? Suddenly, a faint sound echoed from above. Buzzing. Distant, but growing louder. Seleni's head snapped up. Drones. They'd found the trail. Ethan rushed to seal a hatch tighter. How many? 2. Maybe 3. He looked at her. Do they know you're with me? They will soon. They'll assume I've defected. Ethan looked around the small bunker. He didn't have weapons strong enough to fight Virelian tech. The comms still weren't working. No help was coming. We need to move, he said. Now. But she didn't stand. She whispered, what if I don't want to run anymore? What do you mean? She looked at him with eyes full of something she'd never shown before. Emotion, real and raw. What if I stayed behind and led them away? You could escape. You'd have time. No way, he said quickly. We stick together. But I'm the reason they're hunting you. And you're the reason I'm still alive. They stared at each other. She took a shaky breath. Virelians don't believe in love. We think it's chemical confusion, a weakness of lower minds. But now, I feel it. When I look at you, when I hear your voice, when you protect me. Ethan's heart pounded. He didn't speak. He couldn't. She moved closer, just a few inches, then stopped. Her voice was barely a whisper. If I asked, would you show me what it means to love someone? He swallowed hard. Tilani. She looked down. Never mind. But he reached out, gently touched her hand. She flinched, then didn't pull away. I'm not trying to change you, he said. But if you feel it, even a little, then you're not alone in this. The moment between them was fragile, delicate, like something new was being born in the middle of a storm. But the buzzing outside grew louder, and the silence was shattered. The heart that shouldn't beat. The sound came like thunder, low and humming, growing louder every second. Selene stood, her body stiff, her skin flickering faint pulses of violet light. They're almost here, she said. We have minutes. Ethan grabbed his old military bag. Then let's make those minutes count. She followed him through the narrow back tunnel of the bunker. It led into the rocks, an emergency path he hadn't used in years. Dust fell from the ceiling as vibrations from the drones echoed through the walls. Tilani paused. Wait. I need to know something. Ethan turned. If we don't make it, she said, voice low. Was it real? What you felt? He didn't hesitate. Yes, it still is. Her eyes shimmered, and then she ran faster. They burst into the sunlight, sliding down the rocky slope behind the canyon. The desert stretched ahead, hot and endless, but behind them, 3 Virelian drones hovered like silent predators. They're scanning for life signatures, Tilani shouted. They can lock onto body heat and brainwaves. Ethan cursed under his breath. Then we need to mess with the scan. He spotted an old vent pipe poking from the ground, a leftover from some long-buried outpost. In here, he yelled, pulling off the rusted cover. They crawled in just as one of the drones passed overhead. Inside, it was cramped and dark, the air heavy with old metal dust. Tilani lay beside him, her breath quiet but fast. Ethan held a hand over her, shielding her glowing skin. "You're lit up like a beacon. I can't control it when I feel strong emotions," she whispered. "Then stop feeling so much," he joked weakly. She smiled. "You first." They waited. Minutes passed. Then came the metallic clank, a drone landing nearby. They could hear it scanning, the whirring sounds growing sharper. Ethan clenched his jaw. "If they find us." "They won't," Tilani said. He looked at her, and she did something unexpected. She placed her hand over his chest, right above his heart. "This sound," she whispered, "this rhythm, it's not like ours. Your heart beats like it's trying to escape your body. Virelians don't have this. We don't feel panic or passion or fear, not like you." "And yet you're here," Ethan said softly. "Yes," she whispered, "and I can't stop hearing your heartbeat." The drone whirred, paused, then moved away. Ethan exhaled. That was too close. They waited a bit longer. Then he peeked out. The drones had gone. For now. They climbed out and walked quickly along the canyon wall. Tilani suddenly froze. Ethan followed her gaze. Up ahead, standing on a ledge, was a tall, armored figure. Another Virelian. But not like her. This one wore the full elite uniform, dark, spiked, glowing red. Its eyes locked onto hers. "Tilani." The voice came through a translator unit. "You broke your code." She stepped forward slowly. "You don't understand. The mission is wrong. The humans are not just resources. They are chaos," the Virelian commander replied. "Emotion is infection. You've been tainted." "I've been awakened," she said firmly. The commander raised a device. "Step aside. The mail must be taken." Ethan stepped beside her. "You'll have to come through both of us." The commander tilted his head. "Then you've already fallen." He raised the weapon. Tilani acted first. With speed Ethan had never seen before, she pulled a tiny black orb from her belt and threw it at the ground. Smoke exploded everywhere. She grabbed Ethan's hand and ran. Shots fired behind them, glowing red pulses hitting rocks and sand. The sound was deafening, but somehow they escaped, diving behind a sharp ridge of stone. Ethan gasped for air. "They're not playing anymore." "They never were," Tilani said. "They only pretended to care about learning, but they always planned to erase what they couldn't control." He looked at her. "And what about you?" She looked away. "I'm not one of them anymore." "You're with us. I don't know who I belong to," she whispered, "but I know what I feel. And that's enough." They both knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. And somewhere deep inside, her heart, something Virelians weren't even supposed to have, was beating like his. She didn't know what love was until she let him go. The desert wind howled across the canyon, sweeping dust over their footprints. Ethan and Tilani moved fast, side by side, their shadows stretched by the rising sun. They were bleeding time, and they both knew it. Above them, distant dots in the sky grew larger. More Virelian ships, more soldiers. They weren't searching anymore. They were coming to end it. Tilani stopped at the edge of a cliff and looked out across the wide valley. A human research base blinked far on the horizon. A place with radios, fuel, refuge. If they could make it there. "If we reach the base," Ethan said, breathing hard, "we might have a chance." She didn't answer. He turned. "Tilani." She was staring at him. Not at the base, not at the ships. Just him. "I need you to listen carefully," she said. "No, don't give me that goodbye tone," he snapped. "We made it this far together." She stepped closer. "You don't understand. I'm the signal." "What?" "They marked me the moment I destroyed the core. My body, my suit, even my presence. It draws them. I am their target. And the closer I stay to you, the more danger you're in." Then we outrun them. We can't. Ethan shook his head. No, we're not doing this. We're not splitting up. Her voice cracked. If I go alone, you live. And what about you? She looked up at the sky, and for the first time, she looked scared not for herself, but for him. I don't know if I can survive them, but if I stay with you, I know you won't. Silence stretched between them. Then she gently reached up and touched his face. Her fingers were cool and trembling. I didn't understand your species. I didn't understand your chaos, your passion, your messiness. Ethan gave a small smile. We're a handful. She laughed softly. It was a real laugh, light and pure. But now I think, maybe love is not weakness. Maybe it's the bravest thing in the universe. He stared at her, his heart aching. Tulani, don't do this. She leaned in. Their foreheads touched. I want to kiss you, she whispered. But I don't think my people even have the biology for that. Ethan laughed sadly. It's the thought that counts. She stepped back. Run to the base. Tell them what's coming. Tell them Varelians fear what they don't understand. And they fear you most of all. Because of our weapons. No, she said, because of your love. Then she turned and ran. Away from him. Toward the blinking lights in the sky. He shouted her name, but she didn't stop. And then she vanished into the golden light of the desert. Ethan's legs gave out. He collapsed behind a rock, tears stinging his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt truly helpless. But not for long. He stood. He ran toward the base, every step fueled by her choice, by her heart, by her love. 3 hours later, the human base picked up a strange signal. It was a burst of noise from the desert, followed by silence. No ship ever came back from the sky that day. No Virelian forces landed again. No one knew why. But Ethan did. She had ended the hunt. Not with violence, but with sacrifice. He gave the full report to the Earth Council. And he kept one thing for himself. A small glowing stone she had left in his hand before she ran. Virelians didn't believe in Sulbans, but maybe she did. Years later, when humans and Virelians began peace talks, the historians looked back and wondered what changed. Why the invasion never came. Why the Virelian Empire suddenly backed down. No one ever mentioned her. She didn't have a statue. She didn't get a name in the files. But Ethan remembered. She wasn't horrified anymore. She was human in all the ways that mattered.